Why, hello there. I'm Sin. We are in the Book Nook, and we are going to talk about everything I read in the month of July. First up, we had The Bones Beneath My Skin by TJ Klune, and this is the first TJ Klune book I've read, and I had been meaning to read this author for a minute. Kept hearing about their other book called House in the Cerulean Sea, which is on my TBR. I have that book, hopefully to be reading it soon. Not sure exactly when. But this book, super weird, stuff about extraterrestrials. Follows the story of this guy. His parents had died in a really horrible and tragic way. He inherits this cabin and his dad's truck. And he had been a journalist in DC. Stuff kind of hit the fan and he had lost his job. And so he doesn't really have much going for him. So he decides, I'm going to go up to my cabin and just kind of get away from everything and just not be in the normal, like, crazy world for a while, like, not in the city, just get away from it all and be in the forest and nature, and hopefully that'll help his state of mind and everything. But when he gets there, he finds this very angry man and this little girl named Art that are in his cabin, and he's like, what the F? Why are you guys here? And they're kind of on the run because Art is very special, and Art may not be from this world. It's a wild book. It's about found family. There's a little tiny bit of a romance in it, and it's quirky and sweet and so many things, and I really, really liked it. I have a standalone review for this book if you want any more info on it. I'll put a link to that down below if you want to check it out. All right, so after that, I read a book in the Witcher series called The Time of Contempt, and this one just gets further into the story of Ciri, who is a witcher, and she's around like 14 years old, and she is the child of this one queen who had died, but some or slash most people think she's dead, which is good because she was due to inherit all these kind of different parcels of land, and there's turmoil in the kingdom right now, and there's a lot of like political machinations going on, and the sorcerers are all backstabbing each other, and this is like the whole political setup for the series, so a lot of it was like the politics of this, that, and the other, so a bit of it was a bit of a drag to read through, but in the more like action-packed parts of the book, I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed getting more into like seeing from Ciri's point of view, and then you get a little bit of Geralt in this book. Not as much as prior books, but I thought it was an alright read, and I'm looking forward to the next book in the series. And I'm hoping it's a little more action-packed in this next upcoming one. Alright, so after that one, I read Blob by Maggie Sue. Girl leaves bar and is drunk and finds a blob next to the garbage. She ends up taking it home, and the blob seems to be sentient, and she feeds it stuff, and eventually it kind of like starts to grow, and eventually she somehow like molds it into a human, and then I guess would say tries to date it. And at first, you know, the blob is like submissive, but then the blob, whose name is Bob, starts having his own thoughts and feelings and like starts putting his foot down and saying no, and the main character acts kind of like a spoiled baby. It doesn't quite go the way she wanted it to. It's a book about, like, it says it's a romance, but it's more like learning to love yourself, I think, is the lesson we learned in this story. It's such a weird idea for a book. The characters were interesting and strange, and I thought it was an alright read. I did not love it, but I found it entertaining. So, do with that what you will if you do end up reading this book. And let me know what you think if you do. Alright, so after that one, I read Disillusion by Nicholas Binge. This is the second Nicholas Binge book I've read. And the first one I read was Ascension. Loved it. It was amazing. And I read that book because Stephen King recommended that one and said it was really good. And it really was. This one also, amazing. It's so freaking weird. Okay, so it follows the main character and her husband, Stanley. He is in one of the Sunrise homes. He has Alzheimer's, or maybe he doesn't have Alzheimer's, because one day, this guy shows up on her doorstep. His name's Hassan, and he tells her this crazy story that Sunrise Corporation maybe actually, like, they've been doing weird experiments for years and years, and then eventually they started, like, what they call, like, you know, like the assisted living homes and whatnot, but supposedly they've been erasing swaths of Stanley's memory, and it's possible that Hassan can, if they get him out of there, if they get Stanley out of the Sunrise living place, they can help him to restore his memories and he won't have Alzheimer's anymore. And so his wife, if there's any possibility of this, she's going to try her darndest too. And so they have to break him out of the Sunrise house. And she's like, what do you mean? I could just take him out of there. He's like, they're not going to let him go that easily. So they like devise a plan and she breaks him out and they go to this place called the Lazarus Institute. And at the Lazarus Institute, there's all kinds of like weird stuff going on behind the scenes. But they have this thing called a memory spade. And so like since they shared their life together for like 50 years, she's going to be able to kind of get into Stanley's memories and try to help him and try to bring those memories back and form a connection, all this, that, and the other. But are there more ulterior motives going on with Hassan? Well, it's very possible. And the book is so freaking weird. It is sci-fi. There may be a little bit of a time travel element to it, and it's just a very existential book, as was his prior book, Ascension, was super kind of like existential questions about life and memory and this and that, and like same with this book. And it was awesome. Loved it. Okay, so after that one, I read a book called Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent. This one had kind of been on my radar for a little while. I know like Mother Horror had mentioned it, and then I never really like picked it up. But then someone who watches the YouTube channel, Andrew, mentioned it again as one of like the really great books he had read this year. And so I was like, you know what? Okay, I had heard of this before. I should pick this one up. So I did. And it's so weird. It's weird. It's sweet. It's sad. It's emotional. It's disturbing. There's so much going on in it. It's a really great read. And the sweet moments are with Strange Sally Diamond, like for so long, you know, she didn't like people and interacting with people. And so when she finally starts to have friends in her life, it's like sad and sweet as she fumbles and bumbles towards this and forming relationships with people. And I really enjoyed that part of it. But like what happened to her and her mother and like the whole disturbance of like what was going on. So her father dies. He had said to her, and because of like, she has a lot of like emotional scarring and baggage because she came from a situation which she doesn't remember, but she'll learn about it as time goes on. But she was kind of emotionally disconnected. She couldn't really pick up on like when people were being sarcastic and whatnot. And so her dad had said at some point, because he was dying, he had pancreatic cancer, he's like, just put me on the trash when I die. And so she kind of took that literally and then ends up being kind of a suspect for murder. But her dad had written her all these letters, but he's like, you can only read one a week because it's going to reveal like what happened in her past. And so because of all the police involvement and stuff, someone leaked these letters to the press. So everyone finds out about like what happened to her before she does. They start calling her this other name, Mary Norton. And she's like, what is going on? And then she learns about like what happened to her past, what happened to her mom, and then all this crazy stuff. And it's a pretty great book. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's a weird one. And I don't even know how to categorize it. Like, it's psychological, it's part horror, it's part crime, it's fiction, it's freaking weird. After that, I read a book called The Red Knob by Monique Asher. This is the second book I've read by this author. And this one is so weird. I loved it. I loved it so much. It's effed up. It's super screwed up and deranged. Okay, so it's like Twin Peaks meets cosmic horror with some crime fiction and just weird crap happening. So there is this one girl who has all these memories that she blocked out. She's got missing time, missing memories, different multiple personality disorder. And so she's working with a psychiatrist to try and work through this. Apparently in this town, so it takes place also on an island in Alaska. And there used to be this cult that was on the island. And the girl that has all these issues, her dad was the cult leader. So she has a lot of stuff she blocked out of her head of all the effed up stuff that happened back in the day with like, there was young girls and abuse and sexual abuse, murder and just sacrifices, human sacrifices, like effed up stuff. And then girls start going missing again. And it seems like maybe the cult is coming back again. Or maybe they never went away. Maybe it was just a little bit better hidden. They thought the cult went away because the cult leaders, the dude and his wife, had died. But apparently not. And the book's super freaking weird and off the wall. And if you like weird books about cults that are kind of cosmic horror-ish and super effed up and take place on an island where it's kind of isolated in Alaska, The Red Knot might just be for you. Okay, so after that one, we read The Life Impossible by Matt Haig, and I had to give Matt Haig a second shot because I read The Midnight Library, and that book, I know a lot of people love that book. It just fell flat for me, and I didn't think it was that great. That's just my opinion. It doesn't matter. What matters is if you loved it, yes, that book was for you. It just wasn't for me. But I wanted to give him another shot, and I read The Life Impossible, and I freaking loved it. It's awesome. I couldn't put it down. I love the subject matter. The characters were great. It's super weird. It's existential. It makes you think about like life and stuff and weird things beyond this planet, weird stuff that happens when you get to a certain point in your life and you've lost people and just you're kind of numb to everything, what it takes to start living again and just not being stuck in a routine and putting yourself out there and maybe being vulnerable again and letting go of some of your stubbornness and just stop denying what your eyes actually see in front of your face. It was just a really great book and I absolutely loved it. So, whereas The Midnight Library fell flat for me, this one did not. And this one I absolutely loved. 5 stars. Awesome. After that one, I read The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. This book is a slow burn. It is witchy. It is weird. There is like occult stuff going on, like dark academia, gothic, mysterious. I would say almost like a mystery too. There's a lot going on in it. And in the present day in this book is like 1998. You have this character Minerva. She goes to this college in New England and she is writing her thesis on this author, Beatrice Tremblay, who not a lot of people have heard about, but she wrote kind of like horror, witchy books, and she was into witchcraft, and she was curious about witchcraft and occult and stuff, and apparently she had corresponded with H.P. Lovecraft, and she was just curious more about the life of this person. So she's been kind of delving into that. And then it also has the timeline of when Beatrice went to the college, and then before, you also get Minerva's grandmother, Nana Alba, and her history with like witchcraft and weird happenings and stuff in that vein. And so you have this strange witchy book that kind of circles around this girl who had disappeared and other disappearances with like similar things that had happened around the disappearance that might have been like witchcraft or occult or strange circumstances that surround the disappearance. And it's a fantastic book. I really enjoyed it. But if you're not a big fan of slow burns, it is a slow burn. But I always felt it was interesting. You're like delving into the history of these people. It's vibrant and luscious with the descriptions and the characters. And I really loved some of the characters. I really hated some of the characters and just really well written. Really enjoyed it. And if you are a fan already of Silvia Moreno-Garcia, I'm sure you'll like this book. After that, I read The Curious Kitten at the Chibiniko Kitchen by Yuta Takahashi, translated by Kat Anderson. This is one of those books that kind of has that vibe of like before the coffee goes cold. So it follows the story of this woman, Kotako, and her brother had passed away, and she kind of blamed herself for his death because when he died, he had pushed her out of the way of an oncoming car, and then he got hit by the car instead. And so she has all this guilt. She blames herself. She wishes she would have died instead. And one day she ends up running into, at the graveyard, at her brother's grave, one of her brother's friends who had been his theater troupe leader. And he tells her about this restaurant called the Chibiniko Kitchen, and that they serve remembrance meals, and that sometimes people have heard their loved one's voice or have even seen them. And so she's like, okay, if there's even a chance that I can talk to or see my brother again, I want to go. I want to go to this place and see what happens. So she goes there, and something mysterious happens, and it kind of changes her life and puts her on a path in a different direction and like kind of pulls her out of her depression and all the things and all the blame she'd been lying on her own shoulders. You see a few different people in the story as well, and their grief and the people that they'd lost, but it's one cohesive story. All the people in this are connected and the characters, and it flowed really well. It's a short little novella, but there's so much like emotion and heartfelt thought. And there's a sweet little kitty named Chibi, and Chibi's always nudging the people that come to the kitchen in the right direction. And it's just really sweet and cute. Obviously, if you do read it, it focuses around the subject of death and loss of your loved ones, and just the question or the idea of if you did get to speak with them for a final time, even if it's just for a few minutes, like what would you say? How would you react? And all that. And it's a beautiful, sweet little book. Would recommend. So those are all the books I read in the month of July. Now, my favorite might have been Disillusion by Nicholas Binge. Let me look real quick to confirm, but I think it might have been that one. Oh man. I mean, there was seriously a lot of good ones. But okay, there's a top 3. Because I looked at the list again, I was like, oh, how can I not say those were not amazing? Okay, so top 3. Disillusion. Number 2, The Red Knot by Monique Asher. And number 1, The Life Impossible by Matt Haig. That one was so good. I loved it. You know what's crazy too? And I love this as well, is that the main character in The Life Impossible is 72. Disillusion, the main character is like in her 70s. I don't run across a whole lot of books that have older characters in them. And I like when there's older characters in them. I don't always want to read about 20-somethings. Give me some 20-somethings, then some 40-somethings, then some 60s, 80s. Variety is the spice of life. We need perspectives from older people as well. Like, give me all of it. And so I love that those 2 books like had much older characters, and I thought they were absolutely fantastic. Heck yeah. I don't know, books are magic, right? This is why we read. This is like what we search for. It's like searching for those magic moments that you experience in these stories. And I think like part of that is what makes reading so magical. So, anyways, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. What has been some of your favorite books that you have read this month? Let me know down in the comments. I'm always curious. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.